I want to thank Senator Enzi and members of the Budget Committee and the 2016 Budget Conference Agreement that we are currently considering on the Senate. Included in the Budget Conference Agreement are policy provisions that I believe begin to move this country in the right fiscal direction, including balancing the budget within 10 years without the need to raise taxes on the hardworking American taxpayer, something that the administration's budget fails to do. In addition, the budget agreement provides a pathway to repeal the failed policies of Obamacare. I'm pleased the resolution does provide some relief from sequestration's devastating cuts to our national defense, and the good news is that there is some relief. Providing additional resources for defense through the Overseas Contingency Operations account known as OCO is a good one, but it's temporary and it's a Band-Aid. And again, I want to thank Senator Enzi for the great job that he has done. But the fact is, this body and this Congress is guilty of not repealing sequestration, which is devastating our military and destroying our ability to defend this nation in these most perilous and difficult times. Before the Senate Armed Services Committee on January 29th, former Secretary of State Henry Kissinger testified, as I quote, "As we look around the world, we encounter upheaval and conflict. The United States has not faced a more diverse and complex array of crises since the end of the Second World War." And what are we doing? We are slashing defense year after year after year through a thing called sequestration, which was never intended to happen. That is a devastating indictment of the Congress of the United States and our first priority, which is protecting this nation. General Mark Welch, the Chief of Staff of the Air Force, stated, "We are now the smallest Air Force we've ever been. When we deployed to Operation Desert Storm in 1990, the Air Force had 188 fighter squadrons. Today we have 54. We're headed to 49 in the next couple of years. In 1990, there were 511,000 active duty airmen alone. Today we have 200,000 fewer. We currently have 12 fleets of airplanes that qualify for antique license plates in the state of Virginia." General Odierno, Chief of Staff of the Army, said, "In the last 3 years, the Army's active component in strength has been reduced by 80,000, the reserve component by 18,000. We have 13 less active component brigade combat teams. We've eliminated 3 active aviation brigades. We've already slashed investments in modernization by 25%. And he went on to say, "The number one thing that keeps me up at night is that if we're asked to respond to an unknown contingency, I will send soldiers to that contingency not properly trained and ready. We simply are not used to doing that." Admiral Greenberg, the Chief of Naval Operations, quote, "Due to sequestration of 2013, our contingency response force, that's what's on call for the United States, is 1/3 of what it should be and what it needs to be." General Joseph Dunford, Commandant of the Marine Corps, now nominated to be Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, testified, quote, "We're investing in modernization at a historically low level. We know that we must maintain at least 10% to 12% of our resources on modernization to field a ready force for tomorrow. To pay today's bills, we're currently investing 7 to 8%. I asked every single one of our service chiefs and our area commanders the same question. If we don't repeal sequestration, will it put the lives of our men and women who are serving in the military in greater danger? The answer by every single one of these uniformed leaders, not the civilian leaders, the uniformed leaders said, yes, we will put the lives of the men and women who are serving in the military in greater danger unless we repeal sequestration on defense. Now, I say to my colleagues in the United States Senate, this is not acceptable. This is not acceptable for us to ask the young men and women who are serving in our military in uniform to have their lives put in greater danger because we copped out, we failed to address the issue of increasing and unsustainable deficits. We're making them pay the price. 13% of the budget is allocated to defense. Defense is taking 50% of the cuts. The Ryan Murray agreement was something that was welcomed. We need another Ryan Murray. We need the men and women who are serving as members of Congress to understand that we have no greater responsibility than the defense of this nation. I can assure my colleagues that working with my friend Senator Reid of Rhode Island, the ranking member of the Senate Armed Services Committee, we will be working. We will reduce the waste and mismanagement. We will address acquisition. We will reform acquisition and the terrible cost overruns that plague our ability to do business in the defense business. We will be cutting the size of these huge staffs that have grown and grown and grown. We will be making significant reforms in the way that the military does business. But these reforms will not have the impact that's necessary in the short term, and that is that we are putting the lives of American soldiers, sailors, Marines, and airmen in greater danger. So I come to the floor to thank my colleague from Wyoming, Senator Enzi, for the great job that he's done on this budget. But I would tell my colleagues that we must work together in a bipartisan fashion to fix the damage that sequestration is doing. I'll only add one other point here that's very important. Some of us have forgotten that in the days after the Vietnam War, the military was in terrible disarray. And Ronald Reagan came to the presidency on the slogan, peace through strength. We rebuilt the military. We put it back to being the greatest, in the condition of being the greatest military and effective force in the world, and we won the Cold War. Right now, if you look at the map of the world in 2011 and look at a map of the world today, in 2011 when we enacted sequestration, you will find that Henry Kissinger and George Shultz and Madeleine Albright and Brent Scowcroft and every person who is respected on national security in this country will tell you that we are in grave danger, whether it be from ISIS, whether it be from Iran, whether it be aggressive behavior by the Chinese, no matter what it is. There are severe crises, no matter where it is in the world. We are in the midst of serious challenges to our national security, and that is the last place. The last place we should continue to cut is on our defense and our capability to defend this nation. Mr. President, I yield the floor.